Cospa is a brand based in Japan that primarily focuses on selling otaku related fashion stuff. They started back in 95, I want to say it was, primarily producing like what I would say is official cosplay. So they would partner with specific series and franchises and stuff and produce costumes that people could sort of just buy off the shelf. And it would be official to a certain extent. So you could buy like official school uniforms, Safeku. One that I remember specifically seeing as a sponsor was Hanaukyo Meitai. And they also produce like t-shirts and stuff. So official otaku merchandise wears that you can wear, I guess. And there are at least two sub labels I want to focus on. One is the mainline Cospa, and the other one is Nijigen Cospa. Nijigen Cospa items will have a light blue, almost like a teal. I would describe it as like an ocean blue logo tag right there, and it'll say Nijigen. Nijigen obviously meaning two-dimensional. And that specific sub-label is for otaku goods specifically, whereas general Cospa stuff can be anything from anime related to video game related or just anything pop culture related within Japan. So sometimes you would see like Sonic or Sega or like PlayStation release Cospa stuff, and it isn't necessarily part of Nijigen, but it's produced by Cospa and they're doing the official merchandise stuff for that. And today I want to showcase my entire collection of Nijigen Cospa t-shirts as of right now. I'm pretty sure everything here is clean. At least everything here I know is clean because I pulled it out of my closet. And it's kind of a rare instance where I happen to do laundry and everything here is ready. Because sometimes I've been thinking about doing this and I'm like, crap, I feel like there are one or two shirts in the dirty laundry right now and I don't want to like do laundry just to do this video. So it was weird to coordinate, but I finally got everything here laid out. This is not everything. I'm going to switch things up once I finish going through these, but I just want to showcase it in a manner that hopefully will make sense because there's a lot of shirts here and I want to kind of showcase them, I guess. And this is obviously not comprehensive. There's so much Cospa out there, so much being released that you can keep track of following Cospa on like Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Most of these things you can purchase from like AmiAmi, and they will ship it anywhere in the world for you. I think like if you live in the United States, North America, Europe, it's probably pretty easy to acquire stuff through AmiAmi if you are so inclined. You can additionally purchase things via proxy and then buy things from Yahoo Japan Auctions, Mercari, and various other vendors. And I'll go through that depending on like where I got these shirts, because most of them I kind of remember, and some of them it's worth talking about the story of how I got them. But without further ado, let's get into the actual video. The first one right here is from Oregairu. This is Yukino Shita Yukino. This is the first Cospa shirt I ever bought. This one is actually really faded and it no longer has the tag anymore. One common problem I've noticed with Cospa shirts over time, if you're lazy, then they will eventually turn out like this, that sort of like the colors will start to fade a lot and the shirts will also fade. Especially if it's like sort of like a monochrome or a two-tone thing like this. The colors will eventually like fade pretty bad, and that also happens with some of the full graphic ones as well. I think the way to mitigate that would be to wash them inside out, air dry them, don't throw them in the dryer or whatever. But if you're lazy and you don't have a lot of time or patience for that type of thing, then eventually they'll fade, but it is kind of what it is. I'm not losing any sleep over that. That was the first shirt I got from AmiAmi. Down here is one from Saikano. This is Megumi. This one right here, probably also purchased from AmiAmi. Nothing too crazy about this one. I do find myself wearing this shirt pretty frequently just because I really like how this one fits. And the general colors, and I also am a fan of Saikano. One thing to know, I think now would be a good time, is here's the tag right here. So it says Nijigen Cospa. Shows the particular franchise or label it's attached to, and then the size. So one thing I did want to note was the sizing of Nijigen Cospa. So I am a pretty average. I'm like 5'9" and skinny. I can wear both medium and large Cospa t-shirts. It kind of just depends on how I want it to fit. It's not necessarily like how other people say that Japanese clothes fit smaller, so you need to size up. Though I find that when I purchase a large Nijigen Cospa shirt, they tend to fit slightly boxy, not super boxy, kind of like a relaxed fit, as opposed to a medium, which could end up being a slim fit. And I find that all the Nijigen Cospa stuff tends to shrink into wash since there are almost always 100% cotton, so they will shrink a little bit over time. And I find that the medium does not fit the way that I really like it, especially since I like to wear undershirts a lot. Sometimes I wear undershirt long sleeves or, like whatever. And or if I'm just lounging in the house, I find that the larges are a little bit better for that. Here I happen to have 2 tags with me still. These are from very modern Cospa releases. They were from one of these was from some of the K-On stuff. Hirasawa Yui one. So here's kind of the sizes to expect for these shirts in centimeters. You can convert them to inches if you feel inclined, but the length will be about 73 centimeters with 55 centimeters for a large, and then 69 centimeters as a length and 52 centimeters for the width, which would be kind of like armpit to armpit for the medium. Sizes do vary sometimes, so you got to check these tags, especially like if you start to go older, like to the early 2010s and even before the 2010s, the sizes will be slightly different, I should say. And I'll make sure to highlight that when it does actually, when it actually is relevant. But here's kind of what to expect. You can kind of make the judgment on your own end, but there are some things that, it kind of will fit depending on how you want it to. So I would recommend go probably one size up if you want to fit a little bit more comfortably, a little bit more of a relaxed fit, and go true to size if you don't really know that or you don't like baggy clothes. But I digress. Following over here, I'm going to go, this is from Oriimo, I should say, wrong Ore. This is Kamineko. This is one of the full graphic Cospa t-shirts. This one I think was new. It is a medium. The reason I say I think it was new is because I purchased it from Mercari. It still had the tags on it, but it doesn't look like it's new, so it's probably been opened. It was hanging up or something, but I have that one. I'm a big fan. I'm trying to track down a lot of these Oriimo shirts, but I've been having some trouble because they're not always as easy to find. And then last over here is from my recent order from Ami this past month. These are a bunch of K-On shirts. So I got 2 Mio shirts and 1 Yui shirt. These 2 are kind of like the standard Cospa that have this sort of like monochromatic look where they kind of have one character. They're pretty simple, kind of clean actually. So if you don't want to be super flashy with the type of stuff you want, or like the stuff you're wearing, then these are pretty nice. Though I generally go for the full graphic shirts when possible. The difference between these two, there's like the standard graphic shirt and then there's the full graphic shirt, and it will usually denote that on the packaging. But also the way to know that is that the regular graphic shirts are cheaper, full graphics are a little bit more expensive. I want to say these are about 6,600 yen, and these are about like 3,000 yen, in that ballpark. The difference is that these tend to have a full front print here, similar to the Kamineko one, whereas these are just kind of there on the front. And there also are different versions of a full graphic shirt that have printing on the back, and I'll make sure to highlight that when applicable. So this is the first collection of shirts. I'm gonna come back when I have the other ones laid out. Alright, round 2, more Cospa t-shirts. The first one I want to highlight is the Fully Cooley one over here. This one I want to highlight simply because this one shows the regular Cospa tag. So typically, shirts or franchises and series that get Cospa releases that are more otaku oriented will be Nijigen Cospa. Stuff like Data Live, Gochuma wa Asagi desu ka, Idol Master, Love Live, all those type of things. Where sometimes series that are not necessarily like otaku oriented, like Fully Cooley, or Evangelion will have a standard COSPA release. That's kind of like the rule of thumb. It's not always like that. I think it's kind of weird to differentiate. It personally would make more sense for everything anime to be Nijigen Cospa, and then everything like video game related to just be mainline Cospa, but I'm not running the brand. So, Fully Cooley t-shirt. I actually purchased this one when I was in Akihabara. There's a store called G Store, spelled out the letter G, EE exclamation mark store. It's pretty close to when you get off the station at Akihabara when you first arrive. That place sells a lot of COSPA stuff, so it's kind of separated. One section of the store you have the mainline COSPA stuff, so you can find like PlayStation, Black Lagoon, Evangelion, Gundam. And on the other side is where the otaku shit is. So you got like Gochuma wa Usagi desu ka, Love Live, and then whatever other stuff is being currently released. Typically, at least the 2 times I've been there, they will mostly have new stuff. But occasionally you might be lucky and you'll run into some older releases that are maybe a couple months old that are still kind of lingering around. There's something else I wanted to mention with that. Oh, also, COSPA doesn't necessarily only release like apparel. They also release like keychains, other random little goods, stuff like that. So it's not just like otaku shirts. Speaking of Gochuma wa Usagi desu ka, I have this chino shirt that I purchased from Akari recently. This one was stupid cheap. It was like 1,700 yen. So there's a pretty good market if you're trying to find COSPA shirts for certain series, I guess. Like, not all series are popular, and some of these shirts aren't really that rare. So sometimes you could find them really cheap. This one also is unfortunately a good example of shirts that fade pretty bad. So this one you can kind of see that chino is disappearing into the white t-shirt. That one is just a regular graphic t-shirt though. Nothing too fancy. Over here I have 2 Toho Project t-shirts. One is Ermilia Scarlet and the other one is Komichi Koishi. 2 of my favorite characters from the series. COSPA does release stuff for Toho Project. Unfortunately, it doesn't feature official art by Zune. These are from an artist that kind of escapes me right now. Typically on the Ami page, if the art is done by someone else, it will note who it was done by, because not all of these are official pieces of key art or whatever. But I have these 2 right here. The one thing that does bother me is that Koishi's hat it looks like it's falling off her head a little bit too much. But otherwise, it's a cute shirt. Down over here are 2 tees I picked up from Comic Cat 103 when I went last winter. Last winter? Not winter 2024, but winter 2023. I picked these up because COSPA does bring a booth there to the industry area, and you can purchase items there. Though, once again, similar to G Store, it's basically just going to be whatever's new. Occasionally you can get stuff before it hits the street, which I'm pretty sure these 2 Data Live t-shirts were being sold there prior to the official release. At least they weren't at G Store, and they were still up for pre-order on Ami at the time. So got the Tobichi Origami tee here, and then I also have the Tokisaki Kurumi full graphic tee right here. The interesting thing to note about this Kurumi shirt is that it is one of those shirts that I mentioned that was double-sided. This one is not 100% cotton. If I had to say, it's more of like an athletic fit, but it's kind of weird because it's thick. You can't work out in this shirt because it would make you stupid hot. But it's not low quality, so it's not like a shiny material or anything. And the print quality is quite good on these, which is one of the reasons why I ended up getting a lot of Nijigen Cospa, is because compared to a lot of other t-shirts that I've purchased, both like bootlegs, self-printed one, or even official ones, they tend to be the highest quality. And I think that's the biggest takeaway here, because prior to that I had been into otaku shirts, but I didn't have a lot of money, so I was buying stuff from Redbubble when they would have sales, and the shirts are not always that good. Especially now, I think they switched who they're using to using the blanks on. Even if you So you'd have to select one of the more premium options for them, and at that point it's not really worth it. It's like $30-$40 for a shirt, and it's not even official. So then I started to do a little bit more research and found Cospa, and from my experience, Cospa is extremely high quality. It will last you a long time. I like how the shirts fit, the blanks are good, and I have no complaints. That's why I've devoted so much time and money to collecting these type of shirts here. But I digress. Here is the reverse side of the Tokisaki Kurumi full graphic Nijigen Cospa t-shirt. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about my Idolmaster t-shirts. For those who know, I'm a big fan of Idolmaster. Unfortunately, I don't have as many Idolmaster Cospa shirts, but that's a work in progress, I guess. But I do have some cool stuff I want to showcase here. Starting from the top right here, I have a new shirt from Gakuen Idolmaster. This is Hana Misaki. I got this one from Ami Ami in my recent order with the K-On t-shirts, as well as like an acrylic stand and a couple other goodies. This one I got exceptionally cheap. It was like 2,500 yen or even cheaper because it was on sale. So occasionally they put some shirts on sale, especially if they're not selling. But for whatever reason, the Gakuen Idolmaster stuff was not selling. So I took the opportunity to grab this one for a discounted price. Following that, I have my beloved Takagaki Kaede. I actually have two versions of this shirt. So this one is a full graphic t-shirt, double-sided, sort of an athletic fit. Athletic blank, I guess, in terms of like the material they use, similar to the Tokisaki Kurumi one, which I just showcased like a minute ago. This one is a size medium, and this was pre-owned. This is a size large, and it was new, at least new when I first purchased it. Actually, I think I reversed it. This one's the medium, this one's the large. The medium was new, the large was used when I purchased it. But I digress. So this one right here, this is what's on the back of it right here. It says Idolmaster Cinderella Girls, and it has a performance right here, which is really nice. The print quality is actually quite good on these. And in my experience, these double-sided t-shirts tend to last a little bit longer. They're not necessarily as comfortable to wear. They're more of like a summer shirt. I still prefer the 100% cotton ones, but these are really nice because they take these prints exceptionally well and they last long. Lovely colors on those. And then there's the front print. My favorite shirt. It was so nice I had to buy it twice. And lastly, I have a Jogasaki Mika t-shirt. This one is another one similar to, you know, like I've been showcasing. This one's a full graphic t-shirt though. So you have more colors here. It has a really nice design, really nice face, eyes that entrance you. I end up wearing this shirt pretty frequently actually, just because I like how it fits, and I also like the colors right here, that they're a little bit more unique in terms of like, compared to like a lot of the other stuff that I own. I liked how the colors are on this one right here. And that sort of wraps it up for my Cospa t-shirts, Nijigen Cospa t-shirts, but I have a couple of other items I want to showcase. So I'm going to start over here on the wall. This one is a recent acquisition. This is the Asukure Yume shirt from Da Capo 2. This one is a classic Cospa shirt. Well, maybe not classic in the sense that like it's not a 90s one or early 2000s, but this one is pretty old, and I got it brand new because it still has the tag on it, and I haven't found it in me to wash it. An interesting thing to note about this one is that the sizing is might be a little bit different compared to some of the other shirts. Actually even has the circus logo right there. So that's just one thing to note. I think this one was slightly bigger than some of the other ones, but I think the tags that I showcased were, at least the tags I showcased earlier had similar sizings to these. But it's just one thing to keep in mind whenever you're buying these. This one is not a full graphic t-shirt, it's just a regular graphic tee, so there's nothing on the back. The reason why this one is so special is because I'm a big fan of Da Capo and Bishoujo games in general. But this one was pretty hard to track down because a lot of these shirts definitely aren't still dead stock. But they're also hard to find because people rarely list these things. So if you look on Mercari and stuff or Yahoo Japan auctions, you have a lot of trouble finding like specifically Nijigen Cospa stuff. So there's a couple of tricks that I want to talk about once I finish the whole rambling and showcase of these. But this one is like a grail piece right here. This one is so nice, but now I have to get the ultimate one to kind of go with it. There's also a different version of this one that's navy. It's kind of like inverts the colors. I still do want Dakappa 1, specifically Asakura Nemu, but I haven't been able to track that one down, at least at a reasonable price. So the hunt still continues. Over here I have a pretty good example of one of the Aloha t-shirts that Cospa puts out. This one here is for the original Idolmaster. This one's actually based off the 2011 series designs. This one is like a full print sort of thing. Same thing on the reverse. It has a couple of funny bits, like right here where like Yayoi's mouth has a button in it. But this one right here, this was such a good find. You know, being a Mercari gremlin sometimes pays off. Because I'm a big fan of button-down t-shirts right here, especially during the summer. And I had been trying to find some of these Aloha t-shirts before. There's some K-On ones. I think they also have some Konosuba ones as well. But I happened to see this one right here listed at a ridiculously low price. I don't think it was even more than 2,000 yen. And in pretty good shape. There is some fading over here, as you can see with the tag. But overall, it's not that bad quality at all. This one was nicely taken care of, and I wear this one pretty frequently. The only downside is that this one is a large, so it fits a little bit larger than I would typically like. So I have to wear like properly wide pants, otherwise it won't look that good. Like if I wear slim jeans, it will kind of go a little too long. So at least with the case of button-down shirts, I tend to like them a little bit shorter, I guess. I don't want them super baggy because then they look kind of goofy. So at least with the Aloha shirts, true to size is probably the right move. And then last, but certainly not least, I have another, just a mainline Cospa thing that I almost forgot about. This one I picked up at G Store when I was in Akihabara for the first time, and this is for the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast is a console that I'm a big fan of. I'm not like a huge collector for it, but I do enjoy playing games on it. This one also has a reverse print as well. And this one's nice because it's a long sleeve, and I don't have too many long sleeves, especially not too many long sleeve Cospas since they don't really make them. I want to say that Nijigen Cospa almost never has long sleeves, whereas mainline Cospa will have them sometimes, but they're not as common. But that sort of wraps up the t-shirts. There's two last things I want to talk about, and then I'll get into some general recommendations about how to collect for these and like where, like some advanced techniques, I guess. Alright, last two things are hoodies. Since Cospa also makes hoodies, they call them like a paka in Japanese, which is kind of weird because sometimes when you're searching for these things, some people list them as a hoodie, some list them as a paka. Cospa also does release a couple of other things like windbreakers, pants, jeans even. So there's kind of an eclectic collection of Cospa merch out there. But hoodies, I would say, is also pretty good, but with a couple of caveats. So this one right here is sort of like a standard Cospa hoodie. This is the reverse side of it because the front is not really that interesting, but I can show it in a second. But this one is from Sayakano once again. This one is the Blessing Software staff logo, and it says Dojin Soft Circle. This one is pretty nice. It's really simple. It's black with white, so it's not too fancy. But I find myself wearing this one pretty frequently just because of how simple it is, and it can go with pretty much anything, I guess. Like, it's not like I'm wearing a hoodie with a giant anime girl on the back of it. So this one I could wear to pretty much any occasion that I would wear a hoodie typically. On the front, it's not really that interesting. It just says Blessing Software right there. I kind of want to, it's hard to do this with one hand. Two things to note about this one right here that disregard that it's all like messy. This one is actually an XL. I purchased an XL by accident, but this one did shrink considerably in the wash. It does fit oversized still, but I would say the sizing is fairly lenient. So if you do make a mistake and you get something that's maybe slightly too big, it's not that bad. Purchasing a little bit too small might be an issue. And in here, the material is not really that nice. It's not soft. It's more of like a thermal sort of material, I would describe it as. So it's not that nice, but I guess the plus side is that it at least is still thick and it won't make you stupid hot, but it kind of is what it is. And then the last one over here is, I want to say it's like a full graphic hoodie. This one is from Madoka Magica. You can just kind of see the characters right there, and it has this sort of print all over. This one's cool because you don't necessarily see it as anime stuff from afar. It kind of has a cool design, but once you start to zoom in, you can tell it's Madoka. And I've had a lot of people actually compliment this hoodie when I've worn it out, like, you know, just like Walgreens or some shit like that. Like people, like the cashier or something, will be like, "Yo, is that Madoka?" Because it's not like loud. Like I have some Madoka t-shirts, not Cospa, that are pretty, like, you know, they have a pretty bright graphic to them, and those are things that, like, you're calling a lot of attention to yourself, whereas this one is much more clean. So it kind of just depends on what you're going for, I guess, how much you want to call attention to your otaku tendencies in any given situation. This one is a size large and it fits pretty good. It's actually a little short, but I don't necessarily mind that. And then the inside is not really that nice either. It's like super thin actually, and then the zipper is not that great. But this one is pretty good to wear like into spring and fall when you don't need like a massive fucking hoodie. And also there was another shirt, and at this moment I just remembered it when I was talking about my Idolmaster stuff. Another shirt that I completely forgot about, but has been featured prominently on this channel, or like within the Pars lore stuff, I guess, and that is the Idolmaster Cinderella Girls t-shirt, like the white one, the Cinderella Project one that I wore during my Idolmaster 101 lecture. I actually have no idea where that one is. It's probably in one of my drawers somewhere, but I didn't see it when I was looking for my stuff, but I still have it somewhere. I haven't gotten rid of it. But yeah, I guess that's about it. I'm gonna move this one because it's kind of bothering me, this hoodie, and fix this out. So some general recommendations, I guess, or like some secret techniques on how to find some of these things. So obviously, like I mentioned before, the easiest place to purchase Nijigen Cospa or Cospa stuff in general, it would be through AmiAmi, which would basically handle the importing for you, and then you just basically pay for the price of the item and then the international shipping. That's the easiest. However, with that scenario, you're only going to be able to purchase stuff that is available or for pre-order, which will sort of limit you to items that are currently being released. So if you're like me and you like a lot of older series, or you're specifically hunting for some things that are not seasonal, then you might have to look on the used market, and there's a couple of areas where you can look for that as well. Though I do want to say, though, that Cospa is pretty good about re-releasing stuff. Like I had alluded to before, I had purchased some K-On! Stuff for this month's AmiAmi order. And K-On! Obviously is not a new series, but Cospa does re-release stuff, so you just kind of have to keep on top of those things. So that's why I follow Cospa on like Instagram, because they will showcase what they're going to be releasing, and you can keep an eye on that. So it's cool that they still bring back legacy stuff. Some things will just never be brought back. Like I haven't really seen some of the older Idolmaster stuff out there, and especially like Da Capo is probably never going to be back. But occasionally they do have some deep cuts. Like right now, they have some My Hime stuff back on AmiAmi for pre-order. A little while back, they had some cool Black Lagoon stuff. So just kind of depends. You just have to keep an eye on those things. I would say, depending on the series that you're into, like if it's Fully Cooley, Black Lagoon, Gundam, one of those evergreen series, I guess. Well, I wouldn't really say Black Lagoon is evergreen, but if you're a fan of an evergreen series and you still anticipate it seeing more releases, like a ReZero or a Konosuba or something along those lines, even Madoka, then it will probably see more Cospa stuff in the future. But that doesn't necessarily mean every single piece is going to come back in the same incarnation. It might come back, but with different designs or different stuff entirely. So if you do want to purchase something older, or you have an eye on something, or you're specifically looking for a certain series in a t-shirt, like I was with my Asakura Yuma shirt, then you would have to go to the secondhand market, which would be Yahoo Japan Auctions or Mercari. There's a couple of other avenues you can go through, but those are the two main ones. I personally am a big fan of Mercari because it's a little bit easier to search through, and you can also look at both sold and unsold items. That it will keep track of sold items, so just in case you're looking for something and you don't know if it has a COSPA shirt released for it. For example, like if I generally search a Da Capo t-shirt, then I might find sold items, but I will be able to see if a COSPA did actually release something and if it was sold recently. It also has a couple of good filters for that website, so you can filter it by specifically like character goods. You can filter it by like clothing sizes. However, I've noticed that it's not always consistent. People sometimes list COSPA shirts under character goods. Some people list it as just general apparel. You kind of have to search generally and, you know, become a Mercari gremlin, I guess, in just like kind of stock listings and wait till you find something. And before you know it, you're going to know everything that's listed for like the specific search query you've looked for. Another thing to note is whenever you're searching for COSPA shirts specifically, people won't always list them consistently with the type of brand it is. So you can search up Nijigen Cospa, Nijigen being kanji, Cospa being katakana, so kosupa, and you might find some things. You could switch up the search query and put Nijigen in, once again, kanji, and then Cospa in Romanji, like COSPA, and you will bring up an entirely new set of searches. Or you can just search Cospa with both a Romanji and katakana, removing the Nijigen part entirely, and you can have a different other set of search queries as well. And finally, you could just search generally like T-shatsu or like t-shirt, and you might find other things mixed in there, but some people will list COSPA shirts without any mention of what the brand is, and you just kind of have to know. But luckily, they all have the same type of tag. It's always going to be a tag that looks like this. It's going to be a white part. It's going to show the franchise or a license it's from, and then the little blue tag. Once you see that blue tag, you know you're in good shape. So it can be a little bit of an involved process. You have to use your best judgment, and you have to kind of know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting a lot of time. Sometimes wasting a lot of time isn't a bad thing, since I've found some cool things, but it's just something to keep in mind. Some other recommendations though. Surugaya. They have a web store, and they're kind of like a dealer in used otaku goods. So it's not specifically for COSPA, but you can find a lot of COSPA there. I think they also do sell new stuff, but I've never purchased anything new from them. Like in terms of like a pre-order, not like new in box type of deal. But they could sell anything from like keychains to video games to manga to apparel, like I've mentioned here. I would strongly recommend, if you're looking for something specifically, to make an account on Surugaya, and then you can add certain items to your watch list. So when you go to Surugaya, you search for something, there's like a button on there that will show you, allow you to show or hide previously sold items or items that are no longer in stock. If you search for something and it doesn't show anything, you can click that button and it will show you if things are there that they've previously stocked or things that are currently not there yet. And if it's currently not in stock, you can add it to your watch list, and then Surugaya will email you a notification if it does come in stock at some point, which I've had some pretty good luck with in the past. You might end up waiting months or years or possibly forever, but eventually those things might come in stock. So if you're looking for something really specific, like if I was looking for this Takagaki Kaede t-shirt, for example, I think is where I purchased it from, Surugaya. One of them I purchased from Mercari, the other one I purchased from Surugaya. Eventually, like I got that notification, and then I was immediately able to send that link over to my proxy, which is Zen Market, and they purchased it on my behalf, and then I just ended up paying the shipping to get it over to me. Another recommendation is one that I don't think a lot of people use, but it's Danshin Bang or Lanshin Bang or whatever I think it is. And that's where I actually purchased this Asakura Yuma t-shirt from, like a stupid cheap. And the reason why is because I don't think a lot of people talk about it, because it's not as friendly as a web store as like Surugaya is or whatever. It's pretty good though. You might find some interesting things. They just don't have as big of a selection. So I think that's maybe why a lot of foreigners don't really talk about it too much. So let's gatekeep it for now. That's where I found this one right here. Danshinban also has like a physical location in Akihabara, which is the reason why I thought of looking for it there. You can also do reverse image searches and you might end up finding things. Occasionally you will stumble across stuff on the English side of the internet, so like on eBay or Grailed or something like that. I tend not to use those because usually you end up paying more, especially if it's like you're purchasing it from a seller in Japan. So what I've noticed a lot, let's say this t-shirt was being sold on Yahoo Japan auctions and also on eBay. It's going to be cheaper to get it from Yahoo Japan auctions, even if you have to pay the proxy and you pay for DHL shipping. Because when you buy it from eBay, the sellers always mark it up more, and then you have to pay for like ridiculous shipping, and they're probably going to send it via surface mail. So 9 times out of 10, buy it from Japan when possible and use a proxy like Bai, Zen Market, or one of the many others out there. Similarly with like Grailed is kind of like a ship show, I guess. Sometimes you can lowball people, get a good deal, but I tend not to mess with Grailed too much, just because usually the stuff there is more expensive. People think they will list it as like a vintage anime t-shirt for like $100, even if it isn't really worth that. Just kind of the nature and the culture of that website. So just purchase stuff from Japan when possible. You can also purchase new COSPA t-shirts, or at least when they're in the pre-order state, or like when they're first released, from Amazon Japan as well. COSPA has a storefront there. Occasionally older stuff will show up and it's still being sold officially through them, or G-Store, who is I guess an official distributor of their stuff. But otherwise I think that's about it. It's not as straightforward a process as you might think, but if you know your way around, like, you know, if you have a lot of time on your hands and you want to go through all the search queries possible for what you're looking for, then you can certainly find COSPA t-shirts out there, and the quality of them is pretty good in my opinion, at least in terms of a lot of the other official merchandise that I've purchased. So that is why I've continued to support the brand and continue to pre-order stuff, and why I have such a large collection. And for those who are wondering, I do actually wear these out all the time. Well, maybe not all the time, but I do wear these t-shirts pretty frequently. And yes, that includes going outside. I just don't have them for show. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense for me to have like 30 COSPA t-shirts. But I guess that concludes my lengthy presentation and showcase today. If anyone has any questions about acquiring COSPA, leave comments down in the description and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability, because I'm sure there are people out there who are also interested in purchasing COSPA stuff that maybe didn't know this existed, didn't know about COSPA, didn't know where to buy these things, or, you know, maybe they're just now becoming interested in what this has to offer in the otaku lifestyle. But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching this stupidly long presentation about anime t-shirts.
なんか T シャツも普通だし今日白でね。
これ頑張って入手してきたの。
あらー、普通じゃねえや。
こんな感じで。
ね。